Hello students, in this video we are going to continue chapter The Enemy from class 12 CBSE Flamingo, chapter number 4. Till now we studied that Dr. Sadao and Hannah saw one day, actually they found one day, an American Navy soldier who was a prisoner of war, who was caught during Second World War by the Japanese army, escaped somehow from the prison, and he came ashore at Dr. Sadao's. Dr. Sadao was a Japanese doctor, and he was a very good surgeon. So he and his wife Hannah were looking towards from their porch area, looking towards sea, because his house was situated just at the sea beach near the coastal area. So they saw that because it is winter season, so they saw that some shape is human shape is approaching towards them. Then they found that after some time the person fell on the ground, prostrate. They ran to help him, and while they knew about him, that they found that he was an American. Thereafter, Dr. Sadao, because he was a surgeon, and being a surgeon, it was his prior duty to treat his patient first. Though he American and Japanese were very huge rivalries during Second World War, you also would be knowing this fact. So he was in doubt. His wife Hannah was also in doubt that what they should do. They thought on various possibilities and solution of this problem, but finally they concluded that they will treat this person, they will take care of him, and after he will be okay, they will hand him over to the Japanese army. Now, so in that process, Dr. Sadao is going to make the surgery of this man, because he was hit by a bullet on the right side of his back portion, lower back right side. He was hit by a bullet. So that operation process is going on, and Dr. Sadao is making investigations of his body. He's doing examinations, and Hannah is also along with him there. Now let's start. You will have to give the anesthetic if he needs it, he said. Dr. Sadao said to his wife Hannah that you will have to give the anesthetic. Anesthetic, you know that it is a kind of medicine which is given just before surgery to make the person unconscious. Without being given anesthetic, it is not possible to do operation, because it will be very painful. So anesthetic is that kind of medicine which is given to make a person unconscious and to lessen the feeling of pain while a body part is cut and operated by a doctor. So Dr. Sadao said to his wife, you is for Hannah here. He told his wife that you will have to give the anesthetic if this man needs. I is a question mark. Actually, Hannah told I blankly, means without having no idea, because she has never given any anesthetic to anyone before. That's why she had a doubt over her that how she will give anesthetic. But never have I. Then she told her, but I have never given any anesthetic to anyone. It is easy enough, he said impatiently. Dr. Sadao said quickly. Impatiently means he had no time to wait. He was quick in the operation surgery actions. It is easy enough. He says that it is very easy. He was taking out the packing now. If you remember that while he found that man at the seashore, he investigated there also to him, and he found that he is lower towards his right side lower back, he was hit by a bullet, and a lot of fresh blood was coming out of that. So he took a sea moss and he packed that wound to stop the blood flowing currently. Now he's opening that pack now to making the examination, and the blood began to flow more quickly. And as he took out the moss from that wound area, as you could see in the picture, actually the blood started flowing more quickly. He peered into the wound with the bright surgeon's light fastened on his head. As you could see that he has Dr. Sadao is wearing surgeon's light, by which he will see inside the wound that what is the condition of the wound. So he peered, he looked carefully, he peeped into the wound into the wound of that American with his bright surgeon's light fastened on his tied on his forehead. The bullet is still there, and he found after observing that the bullet was still there, he said with cool interest, means very interested, to be very interested. He said, oh, bullet is still there. Now I wonder how deep this rock wound is. Now he thought further that the bullet I found, but the bullet I saw, that the bullet is still there. But now Dr. Sadao started thinking that I have to see more, that this injured area was it was hit by bullet, and it was injured by rocks also while it was flowing into the sea. So now he said that I have to make further examination, that how deep is the rock wound. If it is not too deep, it may be that I can get the bullet out. He said that if the wound is not too deep, then I will be capable to take the bullet out right now. Otherwise, I will have to wait for some more days. I will give some medicines till the wound gets okay, and then I will take the bullet. Because if he will do the process, because it is not hospital, it is his home, and he is not having all the surgical equipments. So it was possibility that if the wound is deep and he starts operation of taking a bullet out from his body, he may die also. That's why he thought that he would have to wait for some time. But the bleeding is not superficial. But then he thought that the blood which was flowing from this wound is not superficial. It is superficial means it is not outward. Means there are various skins in our there are various layers in our skin, and the blood which was flowing, which was not coming from the outer portion of the body, it was coming from the internal. It was a very deep dark red color blood, and he has lost much blood. And then he further Dr. Sadao further thought that this man has lost a lot of blood also. At this moment, Hannah choked. At this very moment, Hannah choked. Means her breathing she has started because it is a normal process. So many people can't bear while they see the blood. They start they start vomiting. Just you can see in the picture that Hannah is choking actually. He looked up and saw her face the color of sulfur, and while she choked, because Dr. Sadao is habitual of seeing so much blood mostly, but she is not habitual. He looked up while she choked. He looked towards his wife and saw that her face was coloring changing into the color of sulfur. Sulfur is a kind of you can say material which is of yellow color. Sulfur is of yellow color, so her face started to become yellowish. Don't faint, he said sharply. Dr. Sadao said sharply, don't faint means don't become unconscious. He said he did not put down his exploring instrument, but he did not put down his exploring instrument. You can see in the picture that Dr. Sadao is exploring the wound with his instrument taking into his hand. He only said that don't faint, but he did not stop his work actually. If I stop now, the man will surely die. Then he thought that if I stop my search right now and help my wife, then this man will die definitely. She clapped her hands to to her mouth and leaped up and ran out of the room. She clapped means she closed her hands. She closed her mouth with both her hands, and then she jumped and ran out of the room. Outside in the garden, he heard the retching. Outside in the garden, Dr. Sadao heard that Hannah was vomiting, so that vomiting sound was coming into the room. But he went on with his work. But he continued his work. It will be better for her to empty her stomach. He thought that it will be better for her, for his wife Hannah, to empty her stomach. He thought, Dr. Sadao thought, he had forgotten that of course she had never seen an operation. Actually, Dr. Sadao had forgotten that Hannah had never seen an operation. It was her first experience, and if anyone will see first time the blood operational surgical process, then the person may have such problems. But her distress and his inability, these two words are very important. Let's listen carefully. But her distress, the disappointment, and the physical condition of Hannah, which she was not able to bear the blood and so all the things, and his inability and his own inability. He was unable. He was not able to go to her. He wanted to go to her wife Hannah and to help her while she was vomiting. At once made him, but he was not. He can't do so, because he was doing a very important process of surgery, and a fresh blood was coming out of the American body. At her once made him impatient, and that's why this thought, his inability to help her and her sad physical condition, made all of a sudden Dr. Sadao impatient. He became impatient, and he irritated also. Why irritated? Because with this man who lay like dead under his knife, he irritated to this man, to this American, because all the problem, the distress of Hannah and the inability of him to help her, these all the problems were created by not only, but only this man who was lying under his knife for surgery, almost in dead condition because he was unconscious. This man, he thought, this is the irritable thought that came into Dr. Sadao's mind. He thought, this man, there is no reason under heaven why he should leave. There is no reason because that he should leave. Reason because he was caught as a prisoner of war by Japanese army. He escaped. Rocks wounded him, and thereafter he was shot by a bullet. So there are every reason that he should die. There is no reason that why he should leave actually. unconsciously this thought made him ruthless, and unconsciously he was not conscious about that, but unconsciously this thought, the thought that why this there is no reason that this man should leave, made him little bit of ruthless, little bit of cruel, and he proceeded swiftly, and he started doing the process of surgery quickly. And you know that it is a very surgery is a very delicate process. A doctor can't make swift actions. He has to make uh, slow actions and carefully, that the person should not the patient should not have a lot of problems, physical problems. In his dream the man moaned, and while he started swiftly, it would have created some pain into the body of that American, and he made a dream, he made a moan, he made a kind of pain, he gave a pain gesture, pain sound. In his dream is still unconscious, dream unconscious, he was still unconscious but gave pain signals. But Sadao paid no heed except to mutter at him. But Sadao paid no heed actually while at his moan. He only muttered at that man. Groan, he muttered. Groan. He says, groan. He muttered. Mr. Dr. Sadao did. Okay, groan. If you like, you can groan. I am not doing this for my own pleasure. I am not doing, means I am not doing all this surgical process for my own pleasure. In fact, I do not know why I am doing it. And he said that in fact I am not. I don't know that why I am doing it. Do you think that why Dr. Sadao thought this personal statement? Actually, he thought that because this American, he was his enemy and he must have handed him over to the police. But in place of that, he was making surgery of that man and facing so much problems. He was not able to help his wife, and he was giving himself so much problems also. So he thought that I don't know that why he was doing this. The door opened. The door opened and there was Hannah again. Now Hannah once again returned after vomiting. Where is anesthetic? And this time she asked in a clear voice. She asked in a clear voice. She was not having any kind of impact of choking and vomiting. She asked in a clear voice, where is the anesthetic? Sadao motioned with his chin. Sadao only indicated with his face. He did not speak. It is as well that you came back. He further indicated that very good that you came back actually. This fellow is beginning to steer, and now this because this man is now making movement, so that's why anesthetic is necessary for him. She had the bottle and some cotton in her hand. She took a bottle of anesthetic liquid and some cotton in her hand. But how shall I do it? She asked. Dr. Sadao, how shall I do it? Simply saturate the cotton and hold it near his nostrils. Dr. Sadao told that simply saturate means make the cotton dip the cotton into the liquid and make it wet, saturate that is wet, and then that wet cotton bring his near his nostrils, nose. Sadao replied without delaying for one moment the intricate details of his work, and Sadao was doing his work and he was not making he was not in mood to make any kind of a single minute delay. Because he was doing a very intricate work, very complicated and very you can say very important work of surgery. That's why he said that only saturate this cotton into the liquid and then bring it near his nostrils. When he breathes badly, move it away a little. Then he said that when he starts breathe badly, means if his breathing is become abnormal, then move that cotton away from his nose, and when he starts breathing properly, bring that again. She crouched close to the sleeping face of the young American. Crouch means sat. She sat very close to the face of the young American. It was a piteously thin face. It was a very piteous thin face, very thin face. You can say very less aged he was appearing, and to see this face, anyone can take pity on him, she thought. And the lips were twisted. Means became dried. The man was suffering, whether he know it or not. The man was facing problems, whether he was knowing or he was not knowing. Actually, while he was knowing, while he would be knowing and caught by the Japanese soldiers, he escaped from there. That time also he was suffering, and now he is unconscious. Still he is suffering, means operation is going on. Watching him, she wondered if the stories they heard sometimes of the sufferings of prisoners were true. Now Hannah is making a kind of imagination here. Watching the face of this man and the bad physical condition and the torture of this man, she is thinking that whatever the stories she has heard about the sufferings of prisoners, that prisoners are suffered a lot and tortured a lot, were actually true. They came like flickers of rumor. Time to time, these kind of news came to her like a rumor, told by word of mouth. Means people told about that and always contradicted, and sometimes it found contradiction also. It found opposite also, means whatever told by the prisoners, sometimes it is found that prisoners are kept in a very good condition. In the newspaper, the reports were always that wherever the Japanese armies went, the people received them gladly. In the newspaper, she thought that it was always reports were published by the newspaper, Japanese newspapers, that wherever the Japanese army went, the people received them gladly. Actually, she wants to say that newspaper tried to promote that Japanese army is very kind army, they are very professional army, and they are not cruel. With the cries of joy at their celebration, at their liberation, and wherever they go and register a victory and take the liberation of that place, the people welcome them. But sometimes she remembered such men at General Takima. Now she is reminding a special general of Japanese army named Takima, who at home beat his wife cruelly. Though no one mentioned it now that he had fought so victoriously at the battle in Manchuria, but it was General Takima did a lot of service to the Japan as army general, and he fought very bravely to win the battle of Manchuria. Manchuria is a place name, and he registered victory in the Manchurian battle, and people welcomed him also. But no one knew about this fact that he was so cruel that he beat his wife at his home, and it was not published in the only his bravery was published in the newspaper. His cruelty was not. It means he wants to say that the face of army which we see, that is different, and actually what they do, that is a different face. If a man like that could be so cruel to a woman in his power, if a man like General Takima, such a ranked officer, may be so cruel towards his own wife, would he not be cruel to one like this, for instance? And why not? It is very much possible that why such type of people will not be cruel towards such type of person like American prisoner, for example. She hoped anxiously that this young man had not been tortured. She expected hopefully that actually this young man would not have been tortured, but he was tortured. It was at this moment that she observed deep red scars on his neck, and at this very moment, while she was making such imaginations, she noticed a deep red scars, deep red color scar mark, means a kind of wound mark just near his ear. Those scars, she murmured, lifting her eyes to Sadao. Looking towards Sadao, she said that, Dr. Sadao, those are scars. But he did not answer. But Dr. Sadao did not answer because he was busy at his work. At this very moment, while Hannah told her that those scars, he felt the tip of his instrument strike against something hard. His tip of the instrument, because with that he was making the surgery. That tip of that instrument strike against something hard in his body. Dangerously near the kidney, and then he thought, oh my god, this hard stuff, means the bullet actually that was just near the kidney. All thought left him, and he forgot everything, that he was an American, and that person whom he was operating on was an American. Second World War was going, he was his enemy, he is a doctor. He forgot everything. He felt only the purest pleasure. Now he is having a pleasure. Means the doctor, whatever we do, and whenever we do our best, we feel very much pleased. Dr. Sadao is having the same feeling right now. He searched with his fingers, while he found his tip of the instrument found that something hard in his body. Now he tried to find that thing with his fingers, delicately, very softly, familiar with every atom of this human body, because he was well familiar with every part of the human body, because he was a very knowledgeable doctor. He's old American professor of anatomy, and he remembered his old American professor, because he studied in America. Of anatomy means physiology, means the person who knows about human body completely, that is called anatomy, had seen to that knowledge. And he remembers the teachings of his and saying of his American professor of anatomy, who told him always what he told his American professor: ignorance of the human body is the surest cardinal sin. Sirs means he told his students that, students, if you forget about the human body while you are doing any surgery, means whenever you are doing surgery, you must remember that you are doing surgery of a human being, and that person is also having some pain and feelings in his body. If you are forgetting that, you are doing a cardinal sin, you are doing a very serious crime actually. He had thundered at his classes year after year, and thundered means he spoke this statement with in a good sound, in a loud sound, and in his every year class.
to operate, and further he told, further the anatomy professor told, to operate without as complete knowledge of the body. That he told to the doctors that, students, if you are not having complete knowledge of the human body, and if you are doing operation as if you had made it, and if you are doing the operation anything less than that is murder. It is not less than murder. And suppose that if the patient dies because of your lack of knowledge and your bad surgery, it is a kind of murder. It is not quite at the kidney. Then he found, further Dr. Sadao now thought that, oh, that hard thing was not right at the kidney, my friend. He told my friend. Sadao murmured. It was his habit to murmur to the patient when he forgot himself in an operation. Whenever Dr. Sadao found himself uh, so much engaged in the operation surgery, then he told his patient as friend, my friend. My friend here, he told here. He always called his patients, and now he always called his patients my friend, and he is doing the same thing here, forgetting that this was his enemy, forgetting that this American operation he was doing was his enemy, not his friend. Then quickly, with the clearest and most precise, then very quickly, the clearest means very, very cleanest, and the most precise means very exact, very true, of the incisions means cut. The cut mark of the doctor by during surgery is called incisions. The bullet was out, and he took the bullet out of the body. The man quivered. While the bullet was out, the man quivered, moved. But he was still unconscious, that man was. Nevertheless, he muttered a few English words, but he spoke few English words. Guts, he muttered. Guts means, you can say, intestine, large intestine and small intestine. He told intestine, choking. Then he became unconscious, and he told, they got my guts, means they will take my intestine. Sadao said. Hannah cried sharply. Hannah said sharply, Sadao? Sadao said, silent. The man sank again into silence so profound that Sadao took up his wrist. And once again, after speaking these words, guts, they got my guts. The man again sank into went into the deep, very deep, profound, means very deep silence, and he was not doing any movement, as Dr. Sadao had a doubt, and he took his wrist immediately, hating the touch of it. Actually, he was hating the touch of that American's wrist because he was his enemy. Yes, there was still a pulse of hand, and he touched his wrist immediately because he wanted to feel the pulse rate. So feeble, but the pulse rate was very faint, very weak, but enough if he wanted. But he thought that it is enough if he wanted the man to live, to give hope. But Dr. Sadao thought that if I want to make this man survive this faint, even the faint feeble and the pulse rate is quite sufficient for me. But certainly I do not want this man to live, he thought. But at that particular time he thought that I don't want that this man should live actually. No more anesthetic, he told Hannah. He told Hannah that Hannah, don't give him any anesthetic more. He turned as swiftly as though he had never paused, and from his medicines he chose a small vial, and from it filled a hypodermic and thrust it into the patient's left arm. Now let's see what Dr. Sadao is doing, because his pulse rate was sinking. Actually, now he turned as swiftly. Dr. Sadao moved as swiftly as he could, very fast. He had never passed. He walked so fastly that he will never stop actually. And from his medicine bag, he chose a small vial, injection bottle. If you have seen, a small injection bottle is called vial. So he took an injection bottle, and from the injection bottle he filled a hypodermic in a syringe. Actually, hypodermic is related to skin actually. So you know that syringe is injected into his skin. So he took a syringe and thrust it, and he filled the injection in that, and then he injected that man into the patient's left side arm. He gave him injection. Then putting down the needle, then he kept that injection down. He took the man's wrist. He took the wrist of that man again, and he checked the pulse rate under his fingers, now fluttering. The pulse rate still was fainted, fluttering. Now it started moving some faster. Once or twice the pulse rate was not proper, and then grew stronger, and then the pulse rate becomes stronger. This man will live in spite of all, he said to Hannah inside. He said to his wife Hannah that in spite of all these things, that this man was caught by the Japanese army, he was killed, he was hit by a bullet, he was shot by a bullet, he was hit by the rocks, in spite of all the things, this man will live actually. The young man came back into the senses after a few days, so weak, his blue eyes so terrified. He was looking so weak, his blue eyes were looking terrified, full of fear, when he perceived where he was. When he perceived that, when he noticed that where he was, because he was unconscious, now he came into senses and he noticed that where he was, that Hannah felt compelled to apologize. And then when Hannah saw that, while he came back into senses, Hannah was at that moment available there. Hannah saw that this man was scaring a lot. Then she told him that, please excuse, don't be so scared. She herself served him, and Hannah herself served that man, gave food to him, for none of the servants would enter the room, because none of the servants entered into that room. When she came in the first time, when Hannah came in the first time towards that man into the room, she saw him summon him small instant to be prepared for some fearful thing. She saw that he was gathering all his strength. His strength was not left in his body, but he was gathering all his strength to be prepared for some fearful thing, because while he listened Hannah's footsteps that someone is coming towards her, coming towards him, the American gathered all his power, physical strength left in his body, to be get ready for having some danger. He thought that someone is coming to kill him actually, so he got ready to reply. Don't be afraid, she begged him softly. She requested him softly, don't be afraid, man. How come? You speak English? He gasped. How come? Means, who are you? How you came here? And you speak English? American is speaking. He gasped. He spoke, but he spoke not properly. He was still having problem in speaking. Like he says, how come? You speak English? I was a long time in America, she replied. Then Hannah replied that I was for a long time in America. That's why I can speak English. She saw that he wanted to reply to that, but he could not. She further saw that he wanted to reply. American wanted to reply that where he means he would have been trying to ask that where you stayed in America, for what purpose, but he could not speak because he was very weak. And so she knelt and fed him gently from the porcelain spoon, and then she knelt, bent towards that American, and fed. She gave food to that man with her own hand, with a porcelain spoon. Porcelain is a kind of Chinese clay spoon. He ate unwillingly. This man was eating unwillingly because he was not willing. He was not happy actually, because he was in Japan, is still in the area of enemy. He was in doubt that what will happen with him. They are right now giving him food, but what will happen next with him, that he was not completely unaware about it. But still he ate, but he still was eating because he was hungry too. Now you will soon be strong, she said. She said that Hannah told to the American that you will be soon very strong. She said, not liking him, and yet moved to comfort. She was not liking that man, but still she was trying to comfort him. He did not answer, but this man, American, did not reply. Thank you. Next, I will come for the next part of the explanation. I will bring a next part of this chapter.